You ready?
Bozidar?
Ready, yes.
Great. Hello, everyone. I'm not Bozidar Butorac.
And I'm not Sara Santos.
And let's switch on online. And let's start by switching on your mobile phones and go to this website to vote. We will need this website several times in this talk. There will be a question appearing on your screen once you're in. And it's a very simple question. Just choose the option that best reflects the type of teaching you are doing next term. I'm going to give you some time to answer that whilst I play some music. Right, we're going to look at your answers very shortly. So keep that website open. I'll give you some time to read that. To Schlechte, these are the important aspects of engagement. So that means that the question of how do we engage learners becomes the question of how do we provide challenging, interesting, and satisfying work in our math sessions.
Now, to be accepting, the engaging work has to be perceived as valuable to the learner and also possible for the learner to complete with a positive outcome. So the question is, how do we do that for students across the world on our International Science Foundation program? So let's see your answers to the first poll here.
Yeah. We'll see what kind of teaching you are doing or you're planning to do. Let's see what we got. If you're going to be online or face-to-face. Oh,
okay, so we have some interesting answers here. So
yeah.
Most people are going to do online sessions. That's interesting. And there is also a hybrid way. So Sara and I are going to do a mixture of online and face-to-face teaching. Now thinking about the next term, can you use your mobile phones again and tell us how much you agree with the following statement? Again, you can use the same poll, so I suppose it should be active again. So we will give you just a few seconds to try and answer this for us as well. Okay,
should we have a look at the answers?
Let's have a look at the answers. Okay, so we have kind of a Gaussian distribution if you turn your head around. Gaussian.
What have you got?
Rules. So we can see that the neutral is the majority, and then after that it's agree. So I think that Sara and I are feeling reasonably confident that this term will be better than the last term. So back to Sara.
Indeed.
Okay.
So I want to show yes. So this is what teaching looked like before lockdown. My typical session began with a group activity focused on threshold concepts for that week. Students would come up and write on the board all around us the results of that task. And that will allow me to differentiate learning and make quick decisions about what we're doing. We had time for individual work, board work, as well as presentations from the students, and that's aligned with the assessment for Maths for Social Sciences.
So let me quickly share my screen.
So, yeah.
Okay, sorry guys. So for natural sciences, what I did is So I would set essential tasks on the board. Students would then work either on their own or in small groups as they prefer. And then during that, what I would do is I would scan through their notebooks to see their work from the previous week's topics. And then I would also check their individual learning plan, which you can see here on the screen, just to track their progress. And then questions from the current week would be solved on the board by either students or myself. And then in my lectures, I also used Poll Everywhere to gauge students' understanding. Okay, Sarah, back to you.
Our ad hoc delivery online at the end of the 2020 academic year coincided with the revision period. So the lessons would have been different anyway. Online, we had lower attendance than usual. And we also had the black rectangle audiences that previous speaker talked about. And we used online breakout rooms, reserving one for one-to-one chats with students and divided the other rooms into revision topics. That's how it worked then. We found that the whiteboards and the annotation tool, this one here, on Zoom and on Teams, Microsoft Teams, was not suitable, was too limited for developing mathematical work. So instead, we looked for an external whiteboard, which we're not going to tell you the name now, because I wanted to focus. And we invited students to post pictures of their work on the board. We could annotate it, and we could provide feedback almost as quickly as in a face-to-face situation. And it also allowed us to then pull the student into the one-to-one room, talk to them with voice, both of us looking at the browser window on the board, annotating it by hand or by typing, and keep that conversation going. And like in a normal class, I could keep an eye on what was being done in the class by looking at different parts of the board. And sometimes I could just give a nudge or keep someone going by type a little message or just say, yes, it's fine. And that felt much more like what was happening in a face-to-face situation. So it was nearly as good, or in sometimes actually better. And I want to emphasize that the participation was not high, but when they did post the question, the interaction was really good. So I think we've got another consultation now. We've got another question.
Yeah, so going back to the engagement components, the challenging, interesting, and satisfying, can you tell us with your votes again what you think makes learning activities satisfying? It could be online, face-to-face, or even outside the classroom. So there should be one more poll, which I activated. I suppose people can see it. Okay. Okay. Got lots of stuff.
That's fantastic. That's the fun, learner-centered. Yeah.
Yes, lots of. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, guys.
Fantastic. We want to tap into that for next term, don't we, Bozidar?
Yes, yes. I just have to, sorry.
Yes. So next term, we will be teaching 1 hour long synchronous sessions, up to 14 students. Bozidar, you got a plan?
I got the plan, yes. So
that's the list of activities that Bozidar has. You will talk you through.
So these are the activities for the week for academic year 2020-2021. Okay. So if you have a quick look. And then what I will do is I will begin session with probably 2 Poll Everywhere questions, just to check if students have done these activities. So if they have read the lecture notes, watched the video recordings, and also solved some questions from the, I call it asynchronous exercise sheet. And then that would allow me to gain insight into the students' understanding of the weekly topic. After that, I would then divide students into breakout rooms to solve questions from the second exercise sheet, which I call synchronous exercise sheet. What I would do is I would hop between breakout rooms, help them if necessary, give them a nudge, and just see how it goes. And then after that, we would have like a groups would capture their workings, their methods and solutions, and they would post it on the shareboard, which is the freehand, which Sara showed recently. And then we would, after that, all go to the main room and then discuss as a class, where were the difficulties. Okay, and here is, for example, one of the poll everywhere questions. This is a cloud type. I would also have multiple choice questions. So these two types. And then, as I said, the idea is just to see if students understood the basics of the weekly topics. Okay, Sara, back to you.
Fantastic. So I will digitalize some of my matching card problems using a PowerPoint where students can move the images around, and that can be done in a shared PowerPoint document over Microsoft Teams. But I've got also a template to organize my lesson. We're using the board, having a shared space where I can coach students to take turns speaking, to even encourage them to participate. They occupy a space with their picture, with their name, and they will have an area for their own work where they post. I'll have a flow chart indicating the next activity, when to ask for help, and really help them become independent learners. And I can have a picture of what's going on by zooming in and out. Now, technology is a tool to enable our pedagogical decisions, and Poll Everywhere feels like it's a great way of gauging where students are and what's their understanding for us to make decisions. And the board is a place to belong to. It's a place to celebrate the work of the students and is a place to organize the flow of the class. So I think all of that helps with our interesting, challenging, and interesting tasks and satisfying tasks. For more ideas of activities, check out the link I have at the end on my Coursera Maths for Computer Science work, or I have other interesting activities to do asynchronously. We'll share all the links with you, and I hope you are switched on for online teaching. Tell us on this last poll what you liked about our session, and keep the conversation going. We'll share links and our contact details during Q&A. Thank you all, and thank you, Talmo.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us and filling all these polls. We hope we didn't bother you too much with so many polls. So this is the last one.
They've been very keen to vote. It's been an amazing response.
So we have here. Green, I like the
okay. Dynamic. Cool. You liked? Oh, fantastic! The screen.
Thank you so much for a positive feedback.
Fantastic. Well, keep it coming, and I think we're ready for Q&A. Are we, Bozidar?
Yeah, ready for Q&A.
I got me a cup of tea.
Okay, then I'll get started on the Q&A, and the first thing that came up straight away was people are intrigued by the technicalities of what you're doing, Sara, with the screen behind you, and want to know how that's happened. So are you willing to share some details on that?
Sure, there are many different ways of doing that. The short answer is export your slides as images and put them on the virtual background on Zoom. You can do that with videos as well. That's one short answer. There are other ways, which I will explore for my next talk.
Excellent. Let's have a quick look at everything else. So you're not, the whiteboard that you were using, you said you were going to reveal that later on. Did that?
Yes, it's here. It's the freehand InVision app. All these links that on our references will be available to you, and you'll be able to use the template.
I used it back in March for the few weeks of the online teaching. It worked well, but the problem was kind of engage students to use it more. But as a technology, it worked very well. Easy to use.
Yes.
Excellent. There was a question about potentially the issue of mobile phones versus computers. So here, most people, I think, are watching on a laptop and can then do the polling on their mobile phone. Do you find that that is potentially an issue for students who may watch a seminar, lecture, or event on a mobile phone and then don't necessarily have a way to flick to the polling software, or do you tend to get good responses on that?
I don't think there should be an issue there. I mean, students usually use their mobile phones to answer the polls. I did it in live classes in lectures, and
Okay.
also, and
Yes.
they can use laptops, tablets, mobile phones. Everything works fine.
So
Yes,
I think it's more if they're using their mobile phone to watch the session in the first place. Is it then?
So there is another option which we didn't activate for this, but you can allow SMS answers. So
Yes.
the SMS answer would be a easier way to combine if you have a video on your phone.
It can cost. It can cost. I think if you use SMS, it's costly. So they have to pay something. That's why I disabled SMS. I just always use the other option.
Okay, what else is coming through?
Someone asked if I was standing up. I am standing up, yes.
There's one question, sorry, it's going through all these stuff on the Padlet. So a question about student handwriting. So did your students have tablets for handwriting, or did they mostly post photos?
Oh, they mostly posted photos. And was it the same for you?
The same, yes, the same. Yeah. So they would, yes.
I did the annotation by hand on some things because I've got a little digital tablet, the ones for design work, not an expensive one. Yeah, that's one thing I used, but it's very easy to type on here, and you can see on this video there's some typed elements. Yeah, but students,
they somehow found easier to take a photo of their work and then just post it on the freehand.
And sometimes they typed the maths, really clumsy exponentials and stuff, but I made sense of it, and I scribbled for them to make sure that what they wrote in typing was what I understood.
Excellent. That is about it on the questions. But if you, I mean, if you go to the Padlet, there's plenty of other comments, lots of really nice comments about what you've done in that presentation. So hopefully you'll get a chance to have a look at that afterwards. But I think we'll leave that and hand back over to Claire.